Alright people, all of you who always say we have to cover Nana whenever we mention punk rock cartoons, this video is for you. I can't give you too much crap, I get it, it's literally an anime about a punk rock band. As someone who has firmly planted himself within the punk scene as a kid and a young adult harder than most, apparently I have become the authority on judging the punkness of media. So let's put that through the patented Bonsai Pop test. Is there blood and gore? No. Does a kid die in Minecraft episode 1? No. Is it anti-establishment?
How about no?
Does it have a radical political message? Definitely not. Well guys, Nana is a 0 out of 10. Thanks for checking out my review. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the way out. Totally got you. You thought that was funny. Moving on. Nana is not the type of anime I tend to watch. In fact, I wouldn't have watched it without the pressure of thousands of people telling me to do so. Mostly because it's a drama. Basically a soap opera that just happens to revolve around a chick in a punk rock band. It feels like every other line should be someone on their knees yelling, "Pourquoi?" It's not really my shtick unless there's some tiggle bitties in there or it's an amazingly compelling film about a deaf girl. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there is a lot about Nana that I don't like. Characters, plot, animation, but just cause this hot tea isn't my cup of tea doesn't mean that it's bad. People love this series and I totally understand why. Nana made me more emotional than any anime I've watched in recent memory, I think. And now I don't mean sad or happy, I'm talking mad. There was literally points where I was out of my seat yelling at the screen like some toxic 40-year-old that takes Call of Duty way too seriously. And any show that can bring on that level of emotion is doing something right. Nana feels very realistic to a point. It's not just the tiggles that have less jiggles, it's every single character, line, decision. It all feels like a realistic scenario with 20-year-olds making really dumb choices and paying realistic consequences, which is just great. I love being reminded of the worst times of my life. It is definitely a hard-hitting show that delves into the lives of complex and emotionally stunted characters who make so many goddamn mistakes, dumb idiot decisions that hurt the people they love and are so easily avoidable. It's annoying, but it's also, I would say, addicting. I feel like that's accurate. The story follows two nanas, girls of the same age with entirely different backgrounds and goals that through complete coincidence end up as roommates when they move to Tokyo. One is a punker man, high school dropout with a traumatic past and the dream of making it big by signing with a mainstream record label, which I hate to bury the lead here, is the absolute last thing anyone in an actual punk band would ever want. The other is a bubbly, childish girl who can barely take care of herself, but is set on moving to Tokyo with the singular desire of advancing her relationship with her boyfriend. So basically you got cringe fashion punk Nana and lame basic Nana, and somehow these two become best friends. But what follows is a heart-wrenching story of broken trust, painfully toxic relationships, and shattered dreams dashed on the cutting room floor. Nana is not a happily ever after, it's not even a feel-good anime, it's a story for young adults, not kids, but as an actual adult with a fully formed frontal cortex, it'll make you look inward at yourself, question your own motives, and come to terms with the idea that all of your dreams were stupid from the start. It's a journey that cements itself in not letting happiness come easily, but instead mirrors the real struggle of finding yourself in a world that doesn't care if you're f***ing happy. It's a story that makes you question whether you understood love at all. Nana is about realizing that love isn't always a good thing, and you won't always get the life you expect. It hurts, and that's what makes it good. So let's get into it. Is your room boring and drab? Spend too much money on manga and have nothing left to make your bookshelf look cool? Need a Figurama collector's figurine that isn't so big it takes up your entire nightstand? My friends, I am so happy to announce that Figurama Collectors has sponsored this video to promote their entirely new line of figures at a very affordable price. Introducing the Dio Cube, a chibi-style diorama for many of your favorite franchises. For anyone who's loved Figurama's work in the past, if you've seen our videos, but felt like they'd be breaking the bank to get a single statue, this is for you, finally. We're talking absolutely beautiful Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill 2, and Castlevania displays that only cost about 120 bucks. And despite these being smaller, which in my opinion is a good thing because I live in an apartment, they still retain all the care and detail that you expect from Figurama collectors, the best in the biz. They're adorable and fun and will make your friends super jealous. Plus you can add on Figurama store exclusive figures like Solid Snake and Cyborg Ninja stealth camouflage versions, Alucard powered up, Bubblehead Nurse for only 30 bucks extra. These are a limited time offer. You gotta pre-order within the next 40 days. or they'll be gone. Pre-orders are live right now. Just click the link in the description and use code BPDIO to get yourself 5% off literally the best figures you're ever gonna have. Doing so will help us maintain this partnership and continue to support our staff. Thank you to Figurama for coming back yet again to support us. Now back to it. First off, the goal of this therapy session, thinly veiled as a YouTube video, is to get you interested in Nana if you haven't seen it and provide some insight into the themes that permeate the show. If you have seen it, you'll find the insight helpful at framing the show as a whole. And again, if you haven't watched it yet, the same insight will be valuable when you do watch it. Sound good? Let's go. Nana's two main characters are Nana Komatsu, who's quickly nicknamed Hachi, and Nana Osaki, aka Annoying Nana and Wannabe Nana. Oh, look at me, I'm Nana, I'm so edgy, look at my earrings, so different and nonconformist. I wear rings like Alan Moore and exclusively shop at Hoto Topiku. They meet on the train to Tokyo and then again when they both try to rent the same apartment before choosing to rent it together. Which is stupid mistake number one. Don't just rent an apartment with someone you met like a day ago. Sure, it can work out, or you can end up living with a meth-addled chick dating a literal murderer or a dude addicted to heroin who tends to OD a lot. That's just my personal experiences though. I mean, you can do what you want. Anyway, Hachi's friends actually make a similar point to that, but then they meet Nana's friend Yasu, who's a lawyer, and suddenly they're cool with it because they don't have to take care of Hachi anymore, you know, because lawyers definitely aren't mostly self-interested cokeheads. Sounds good, right? Anyway, Nana and Hachi are both 20 years old and are trying to follow their dreams by moving to Tokyo. Hachi moved there to follow her boyfriend Shoji. That is her dream. She's a hopeless romantic through and through. You know, she watched The Little Mermaid too many times and just wants to find love and stability, which would be fine if she had any personality beyond that. Hachi is incredibly single-minded. She has no other personal aspirations at all, no career path she's interested, no hobbies, nothing except a penchant for buying overly expensive stuff she doesn't need. Her character initially seems extremely surface level. She's just this cute girl who wants to please whoever she happens to be dating. You know, just a dumb kid following her dumb boyfriend because she's too immature to think about what she really wants in life beyond companionship. And when I say kid, I mean it. This girl has no life experience. She's lived at home for 20 years. She's never had to support herself, cook for herself, pay bills, think for herself, or consider how her actions could affect others. She is a feminist's worst nightmare. Hachi's only actual life experience comes from getting taken advantage of by an older man who used her and then left her. So her initial character is literally, I got hurt, so now I crave someone who won't hurt me. It's a mentality based on the one bad thing that happened to her, and it defines and dictates her actions. And you'll notice that past trauma heavily affecting character personality and actions is a main part of this show. It's one of the reasons the show feels realistic. You might get mad at a character's choices, but those choices are generally based in trauma and make sense even if you don't agree with them. Now, I'm a fan of strong woman characters with depth behind their actions and more than, you know, just like having a boyfriend on their brain. And I know that there's solid reasoning for Hachi's mentality. She's been hurt and she's trying not to get hurt again, which is pretty simple, but she absolutely infuriates me. She is the person I'm screaming at 9 times out of 10. She's also the primary character of the two Nanas, at least initially. At the start, she's basically unwatchable. And I think that's the point. Her character arc goes from someone with absolutely no stakes making life-altering decisions that will leave you wondering whether or not she made the right choice. But then she grows, learns, gains experience, and becomes an entirely different person by the end of the show. You know, 50-ish episodes later. I still don't like her, but I fully understand her emotional thought process and can respect the choices she makes, even if I wouldn't make the same ones myself. To put it bluntly, she is very well written, and I begrudgingly think her character arc is the best one in the entire series, at least in the anime. But it still makes me mad. That said, her whole goal of simply wanting to be a housewife is super legit in Japan. It's important to take cultural context into account when consuming foreign media. Yes, women do work in Japan, but the traditional Japanese lifestyle is still based around the man working while the woman tends house and takes care of the kids. This is often a bias pushed on girls from an early age, so we really can't give Hachi too much grief for being incredibly regressive. Now, on the other hand, we have Nana Osaki, the take no shit punk band lead singer, man. Now, she's had a pretty hard life from the get-go. Her father was out of the picture since she was born, and then her mother went out to get milk and cigarettes when she was 5 and never came back. This left her in the care of her grandmother, who died when she was 15. So now, Nana has abandonment issues. She then joined a punk band on the whim of a friend and fell in love and shacked up with the bassist, Ren, at age 16. This also says a lot about how she feels about her own self-worth, because nobody goes for the bassist. I mean, come on. Now, after a couple years together, Ren gets headhunted by another band that's about to sign with a massive record label, so he leaves for Tokyo to join that band, ending the relationship. And I repeat, this girl has abandonment issues. So let's delve into that a bit more. Yay, Nana could have moved to Tokyo with Ren, right? Continue their relationship and maybe even lived happily ever after, who knows? I mean, probably not, there's plenty of issues in that relationship as is, but still, she made the choice not to move to Tokyo with him, despite not really having a life or a career or a band to keep playing with afterwards. Nana doesn't move in with Ren because her ultimate fear is getting too comfortable as the living girlfriend and watching all her goals fall by the wayside as her man brings home the bacon and lives out her dream. It's kind of the same reason a lot of people decide to not have kids, you know, they don't want all their goals and aspirations to disappear into someone else, or they're millennials and can't afford it, or they just hate kids. Anyway, Nana stays behind to further develop herself as a person and a singer, and to me, this is one of the most mature and correct decisions in the entire show. I'm sure almost everyone has met someone or is someone that fell in love early on in life and let that relationship influence their future in a negative way. I mean, I know I did. Nana having the emotional maturity and wisdom to recognize that she's not ready for that on a personal level is a refreshing and realistic take on the young lover stereotype. It's also a showcase of her independence, which is admirable in general, but especially for a Japanese woman. She wants to achieve her dreams for herself, not latch on to success riding somebody else's coattails, especially not a man's, and that is pretty uncommon over there. Now, Nana does eventually follow in Ren's footsteps and move to Tokyo, but she does it on her own terms, and she's not looking to hook back up with him. Instead, she wants to surpass him, you know, like shonen style, pursue a career as a punk singer, and succeed on her own terms, right? This again was pretty good. Someone who wants to achieve their own goals via their own talents and isn't willing to take the easy shortcut to success is someone that I can relate to, even if her choices do stem from her past trauma. Nana's fear of moving in with Ren and essentially losing herself in the process is derived from her abandonment by her mother and father and then her grandma dying. She's not willing to let anyone disappoint her like that again, so she pushes back against all situations that could end that way. Being a wife or a mother are really big trigger points for her because she's experienced firsthand how shitty parents can be, or dead. So she's never going to settle for just being Ren's significant other and fading into the background, which again, in an extremely patriarchal society, often happens. She's determined not to live the life society expects her to lead, but to stand out above the rest and on her own 2 feet. Screw the family life, screw the white picket fence, the loving boyfriend, and the stability a quiet life can bring. Nana isn't going to be abandoned by anyone. Instead, she's going to be the spotlight for everyone. Now, Hachi is the polar opposite. Her simple and generic family life, mixed with that one abusive relationship experience, leads her to feel not just very ordinary, but utterly disposable. In all her future relationships, she's constantly questioning everything she does due to the fear of being discarded, constantly looming over her shoulder. And this often leads to her making some awful decisions, lashing out due to fear and creating a cycle where she leaps into the arms of the first guy who gives her attention as soon as her current lover is out of the picture. I feel like we all know somebody like this. However, that last bit stems from another one of Nana's well-portrayed themes, which is loneliness. And you might think that the Nanas wouldn't work together due to their, very different personalities, but their paralleled past traumas have the opposite effect, right? Hachi and Nana mix so well specifically because their emotional baggage complement each other perfectly. Their differences in life philosophy, while seemingly incompatible on paper, actually work to their advantage in a friendship. Nana's strive for nonconformity and rallying against the stereotypical life are inspiring to Hachi, who feels so generic and replaceable. Nana is somebody Hachi can latch onto and feel a uniqueness and exceptionalism that she doesn't get from herself. Nana gives Hachi personality, whereas Hachi's codependency provides relief to Nana, who's terrified of being abandoned. The two find comfort in each other despite their personalities being oil and water because they're damaged goods without the wisdom gained from hindsight. And a major part of this bond forms thanks to Nana's overly possessive personality. You get abandoned and you either avoid all attachment or you force it. Case in point, she often treats Hachi like her own personal dog, and the nickname Hachi is actually taken from the famous Japanese dog Hachiko, who is renowned for his loyalty and waiting for his owner to come home from the train station. Hachi is literally Nana's bitch. She has a significantly weaker personality than Nana, and that makes her super easy to influence. But on the flip side, Hachi is so incredibly needy and has such low self-esteem that having someone in her life who's overly possessive is like a dream come true. Nana's over-possessiveness feeds into Hachi's fear of being discarded and comforts her, making both girls feel safe with each other. At the same time, living with Nana makes Hachi feel good about herself because Nana absolutely refuses to take care of her, which forces Hachi to act like an actual adult, at least some of the time. This bond the Nanas form form is friendship, but their sad girl experiences push the relationship past an emotional threshold of a normal, friendly bond to codependence. Nana even eventually has anxiety attacks when thinking about not being around Hachi, and Hachi continually feels like she's hurt Nana so badly she isn't worthy of being her friend anymore. That ain't real love. That isn't real friendship. It's two people ignoring their own deep-seated issues by using the other as self-medication. The climax and the ending of the show actually has both Nanas showing growth and understanding of their issues by being able to put aside those feelings in support of the other. Nana is able to let Hachi go and not try to monopolize her life, understanding that Hachi's choices are her own and Nana shouldn't interfere for her own personal gain. And Hachi, on the other hand, has to put the importance of someone else before herself and makes an extremely difficult choice for the future with that in mind. That being said, Hachi's choice to do what she does is due to her inherent conservative ideals and could have easily been flushed, but hey, you can't fix stupid. Regardless, one has to let go of her possessive behavior and the other has to let go of her self-centeredness. It's not what I would call a satisfying ending. In fact, it's extremely unsatisfying, but it does fully exhibit the growth of the main characters as their lives move on to new chapters. That being said, just because a character grows doesn't mean it's in a good way, because basically both Nanas become sellouts in their own personal fashion, giving the overall lesson to the story a questionable color. Nana fully portrays the struggle of achieving your dreams and the impact the reality of those desires can have. Both Nanas end up getting what they want, but neither of their wishes turn out to make them particularly happy. It's a typical monkey paw scenario. What's left is a bittersweet taste in your mouth as neither Nana is satisfied, yet both have accepted the outcome of where they end up. It's not a good or a happy ending. In fact, the entire show is covered in melancholy voiceovers from the future Nanas reminiscing on how good things were when they were younger and still living together, which is funny because while they were living together, things were pretty shit. But I guess that's just how nostalgia works, right? Lots of people look back at high school and are like, man, those were good times, completely forgetting all the misery that being a pubescent teen inherently brings. Future voice Nanas veil the entire show in a shroud of unshakable regret and sadness. The end does not feel good. It barely feels like an ending at all, really. Likely, at least in part because the manga has been on indefinite hiatus since 2009. It's definitely a non-ending that feels incomplete because it is. You don't get closure, and that alone makes the show kind of even more like real life. The story doesn't end till you die, but chapters come and go. That's simply what Nana is, especially with the manga likely never getting finished. It's just a few chapters in the lives of two young adults. Well, more than two, but we'll get there. Now, of all the themes in the show, I think the realistic portrayal of love or love-like emotions is definitely the strongest. Often in anime, right, two people fall in love, they hold hands, and that's the end of the story. In Nana, that's just the beginning. Nana depicts unrequited love, codependency, non-romantic love, healthy love, obsession, possessiveness, enduring love, literally every type of love and fake love you can think of over the course of the show. One of the main points of the series is to teach that love isn't one note, but can take shape in a variety of ways, and many of them aren't love and are actually really shitty. What's important about the show doing this is that your early 20s are generally the time when you experience all of this. At least it was for me. I had a lot of girlfriends, which was weird because I was homeless and I didn't shower, but not one of those relationships was healthy. And a lot of that was on me. Sans being a fashion punk goon like Nana, I was also very possessive and had abandonment issues. I once had a girlfriend who was a lot like Hachi at one point. She saw me as a fascinating person living a life that she thought was cool. She was very sheltered. She listened to the radio. She liked the Jersey Shore and like Twilight. Yeah, it was that long ago. But you know the type of person. She was pretty hot.
Nice.
So she stayed with me, despite me being a dirty, horny head with no money, because she thought I was cool, and I stayed with her, despite her being clingy and embarrassing, because I thought she was hot. We said we loved each other, but that was bullshit. Now, Hachi constantly claims to be in love. Someone's nice to her for like 5 minutes, and suddenly she's considering whether or not he is her soulmate. That's infatuation combined with your baggage and codependent tendencies all mixed together into a hormone salad. But it also led me to the question, how do you know if you're in love, right? There's no specific tell. Hell, most people probably just say, you'll know, it's obvious when you fall in love. But is it? I mean that seriously. Is it actually obvious when you fall in love with somebody? Because the more I thought about it, the more I realized that love isn't a realization. And I'm not going to claim to be Dr. Love, but I've had my experiences. I've told plenty of ladies I love them, and at the time, I thought I did. Most know the feeling of meeting someone and just wanting to be with them, then the incredible excitement that comes if that actually happens. But nothing stays exciting forever. The first time I made a video that got 1,000 views, I was freaking out. I called my friends, I showed my family, I obsessively watched the numbers on that video go up and up until they stopped. And I was so satisfied, I was so excited. Now, I'm not even happy unless a video gets 200,000 views, let alone excited. And that may sound fucked up to you, but making videos isn't just a fun project anymore. It's my livelihood, and it's split between Tyler and I. Eventually, numbers just become numbers, which turn into revenue, which goes back into making more videos. I love that so many people see our work, but because of this ecosystem, 100,000 people, 200,000 people, that doesn't put food on the table. The necessities of living in this dystopian nightmare outweigh the joys of entertaining millions of people. Try dealing with that heart-wrenching reality. Now, in the movie Dogma, there is this excellent scene that explains all of this perfectly. Now, in it, two Catholic characters are talking about faith, and one explains that when you're young, or in this case inexperienced, your cup is small, and it only takes a small amount of faith to fill that cup. But as you grow older and you experience more and you grow, your cup grows with you. And suddenly it takes significantly more faith to fill that cup. And for most, it's never enough. So they simply leave the church or stop believing in God, something that once filled them with hope and comfort. And this is all love, that initial blast of endorphins that completely overwhelms you when you meet that special person or get that first hit video or land your dream job. It eventually fades. And generally, that is when people break up, right? The cracks in the walls start to show, the annoying personality flaws become more apparent, that tattoo you hate stares you in the face, fights happen more, the sex becomes less frequent, the thought of this going on forever scares you or the other person, and you break up. Or you don't. True love, truly being in love, is a job. Or to make it sound less awful, it's like taking care of a plant. You need to water it, to give it sunshine, to clip off the dead leaves, to repot it, to change the soil. It will wilt, it will bloom, it will wilt again, it will blossom again. It takes work, dedication, time, patience, compassion, all traits that people do not inherently possess. In order to properly care for another living being, you also need to grow and change and adapt. I've been with my partner for 10 years, or it will be 10 years in August. We are different people. We need different things, we like different things, and we communicate differently. Being in love is fucking annoying. It is difficult, it is painful, it is inconsistent, and it is also the exact opposite of all of that. It is paradoxical in nature. True love comes with time. Once the infatuation wears off, once reality kicks in, once you have to think about money and time and work and space and chores and family and healthcare, and you're so tired you can barely keep your eyes open, but you look at that person that you're in love with, even if they've gotten fat or sick or gone bald or still have that tattoo that you've hated for years, even if you're in a fight that's lasted 3 days and they still can't do laundry right after 10 years, and they don't close potato chips bags and constantly leave the bathroom sink a disgusting mess, and you just want to strangle them, it feels perfect, safe, right. Like no matter what, no matter how bad it gets, that person and you will always be there together for each other. Despite the millions of little flaws, there is an inherent, unbreakable trust between two people. And I think that that is what truly being in love is. But when you're 20, man, you just want to hump. So is Hachi an idiot? No. She's 20. She just doesn't know shit. Does my experience invalidate hers? Yes, because I have experience and she doesn't. She has not had the time to think about how the love she desires so much will affect her future, let alone what love actually is or can be. It is so easy to become infatuated, to form codependent relationships out of desperation and call it being in love. But there is a big difference between loving the way someone makes you feel and loving that person. Just like loving the way having people watch your videos makes you feel versus loving to make them. Nana also works to make it clear that love isn't always a binary choice. That's something that I can agree with. The idea that everybody can only have one person at a time just isn't necessarily true. There are people out there who can either choose to only love one person at a time or to love multiple people the same way that some people have the ability to have more than one best friend. Not me. I always have a favorite. I can't help that. People will always be important or special to me in order. I will always have a best friend, a favorite relative, a single partner. I can't help the way I feel any more than anyone else. I'm not having kids, but if I was gonna have a kid, I would only have one because I know I would love one kid more than the other one. That's not fair. But Nana has good representation, and make sure to note that love is an XY axis, right? From gay to straight and from monogamous to poly, even though there's also a Z axis for sexual and non-sexual love, but for sake, most people can't handle a single line, let alone a three-dimensional graph. Regardless, to go way back to the start, right? Is Nana punk rock cartoons? No, it's a soap with generic vague ideas about being in a scene and a bunch of fashion punks. Except for one character. And yeah, I'm going there. Let's talk about Shin Okazaki. Shin is a smoking, drinking, 15, 16-year-old male escort, happy ending included in the fees. He plays bass and blast and is the only character in the show who is actually 100% accurately punk as hell. Despite those piercings, like really, I have played with Japanese punk bands. They do not dress or look like that. It is so goofy. Anyway, I'm sure some people in the audience are going to get uptight as fuck during this section, but this is my video and my thoughts, so deal with it or go away. Shin is arguably the most realistic character in Nana. The only liberty taken with his situation is that he satisfies attractive older women. In reality, he would be gargling that toaster strudel icing in an alleyway. I'm not entirely sure what yazawa, Nana's mangaka, knows or doesn't know about the history of punk, seeing as she went to school for fashion, which I guess explains the characters. But Didi Ramon famously took it in the mouth for that sweet, sweet hon in the side. He was also the Ramones bassist, and he died of an overdose in 2002, never having kicked his habit. Shin does it for the money, but he's not selling to high school chicks. His clients tend to scale a bit older. And Western audiences freak out about this whole debacle, which fair to a certain extent. Shin has no mom and his stepdad doesn't care about him, so he ran away and found comfort in an older woman. She let him do whatever he wanted, smoke, drink. She also slept with him, was okay with him doing los dragos. And then she eventually became his de facto pimp. You know, grooming. Her name is Ryoko, and she is definitely messed up. We don't know how old she was or how young Shin was, but the discrepancy was way more than enough. Most of this is glossed over in the anime, and lots of people squeal and cry over this, but man, that's reality. Now, a lot of people look at rock stars, actors, comedians, and sure, YouTubers, like they're aliens or something, right? They live this untouchable rock and roll lifestyle, do lots of drugs, party super hard, do crazy things, get in trouble, act out. But these people didn't start doing that because of their profession. They always did it because they're fucked up and mentally ill. I mean, that's how you get into those professions in the first place. You think some normie's gonna come up with anything remotely entertaining having lived a safe, simple, typical life? Hell no, it's always crazy people, outcasts, queers, inherently broken or weird individuals. Even J.R.R. Tolkien was a soldier in World War I. You know how messed up that makes you? Now, when I was Shin's age, okay, I was doing the same shit. I was dating women 6 to 7 years older than me. Why would I have wanted to be with a girl in high school? They were immature and they were boring. I could pass as 18, an older woman could buy me cigarettes and booze instead of me having to hang outside the liquor store. They had cars, money, cool friends. They were down to do it. It was just better on every level. And I was doing it for free. It was my choice. I chose who I liked, who I chose to pursue, and I chose when to end those relationships. You know, unless some chick broke up with me, that sucked. I also chose when to lie about my age or not. I never felt out of control, used, or manipulated with wills of their own. Everyone is different. Everyone wants different things. We mature at different rates. Is it wrong what I did? Technically, legally, on my end? No, but it was. I tempted women, I lied at parties, I could have ruined people's lives. But at the time, I didn't think it was a big deal because without all the bullshit, It wasn't. My age didn't change the way I felt about them or that they felt about me, because they didn't know most of the time. It was just, the legality of the situation was dubious. For me, I wasn't allowed to do things I wanted to do because of what I saw as numbers. I was out on my own by the time I was 17, and I couldn't enroll myself in high school. Dude, I wasn't allowed to continue my education because I wasn't old enough to sign enrollment papers. Now, did dating older women make me a shithead? Yes, but I was also an unmedicated, crazy, broken outcast. I didn't want people looking out for me. It was suffocating and annoying and felt condescending. I didn't do hard drugs and was particularly good at getting away with misdemeanors. I figured I'd be fine. And for the record, I am not making an argument for anything being okay or right. All I'm saying is that this stuff happens. It happens a lot. And it's not always a horrible or traumatic experience. There are things that I look back on that I'm like, wow, that was terrible. Dating older women was not one of those things. Now, was my lifestyle for everyone? No, but I definitely feel a connection with Shin. Shin ran away. He chose to escape a really shitty situation and start his life early. That's what happens when you're on your own. And it leads to mistakes and other bad situations that can often be out of your control, but there's also a certain amount of responsibility you realize that you're taking on when you make that choice to escape. He also doesn't seem to particularly mind his lot in life until he has to accept that he's too young to be with someone he thinks that he loves. It's messy and it's fucked up, but man, that is some real. And you might be asking, why is that an accurate portrayal of the concept of punk? And the answer is because the reality of living a punk rock lifestyle is messed up and short. It is a time of reckless abandonment and self-indulgence. It's walking the thin line between pushing the limits and completely falling off the edge. If you can make it through that time, you can incorporate the ideals into your lifestyle without having to live the rest of your life as a piece of shit. But I'll say it before and I'll say it again, not everybody makes it out alive. And most don't make it out without lasting scars, be it physical or mental or both. Nana's core strength lies in its ability to invoke genuine emotions from the audience. Even if I didn't like the main characters, there was side characters like Shin that I was like, wow, that's really good. It portrays the struggles, mistakes, and consequences faced by young adults in a way that feels more raw and relatable than your average story, or at least your average anime, whatever. The characters make decisions that may anger or frustrate us, but that's kind of part of being an adult and watching young people be young people. Everybody, regardless of their age, has motives behind their actions. We can relate to them. It forces us to question our own understanding of these concepts or reflect on how we reached our understanding in the first place. Also, those facepalm moments when you f***ed up and didn't communicate. That's why it's such an important watch. Even if it might not necessarily be a super fun watch, you can learn a lot from the characters in the show, or if you're at a certain age, be reminded of how you got to where you are. If something feels wrong, if a choice feels off to you, it likely is, and that's the whole point. This show shouldn't feel good, but it will make you feel. And that ability to communicate emotionally is what art is all about.